Sabah everybody and welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're going to talk about Android Wear 3.0 and Tizen. Samsung released not that long ago the brand new the Galaxy Watch 4, and then there's different variation. This is the classic with LTE, so it's the larger of the smartwatches, as well as it's on a 46mm. This is my upgrading, or I'm upgrading from last year's Watch 3 with LTE, so that's kind of the point of reference that we're looking at. The main thing here is this is Google and Samsung's first smartwatch together where Samsung reverted back to Android as the main operating system on their watch. Although you can't really tell that it's running Android Wear 3.0 out of the box. You literally think it's still running Tizen. This is TK, and this is the Galaxy Watch 4 Classic with LTE. Let's check it out. Like and subscribe, and make sure you hit that bell icon so that you're always notified to whenever we have new videos on the channel. So the watch itself comes in a very simple package. Again, this is the classic Watch 4, the larger of the two smartwatches that Samsung released. There's two versions of it. So there's basically the Galaxy Watch 4, which is intended to be more of a smaller, more sporty. The classic edition is intended to look more like regular watches. So that's one of the main benefits. It also has the spinning crown where the smaller Galaxy Watch 4s don't. They have the digital spinning option. The name here pretty much says it all, Samsung Galaxy Watch 4 Classic. Again, this one does have LTE and I've already registered it. I'm using it on T-Mobile here in the US. As far as the content of the box, you get the instruction manual, you get the charging cable, as well as the magnetic charger that you can actually use. Coincidentally, this is the exact same one that we had last year. And of course, we have the watch, which includes a large strap. I don't see an option for us to see other options. I'm assuming that when you're ordering the watch, you make sure to order the one with the right strap. But for the most part, that's pretty much all we get in the box. Now, when we're looking at the Samsung Galaxy Watch, one of the main things I love about it is the fact that we still now have the actual spinning crown. That was something that I enjoyed ever since the earlier generation of Galaxy Watches. This one is here. It's not digital. It is an actual moving part, very much similar to what we saw last year with the Galaxy Watch 3. This is, again, the LTE edition that I had that I'm upgrading from this one to this one. So I'm trading this one in to be able to upgrade to the brand new one. So one thing I will say, though, is Samsung did decide to change their bands here from a 22 to a 20, which unfortunately makes it so that actually the bands from last year's watch don't match the new one. So you do need to pick up new bands in case you have a collection that you're upgrading from one to the other. Although coincidentally, it does match what I have on my TicWatch, which surprisingly I have some bands there as well. All of the sensors and all the information is actually on the back, pretty much flat experience, no more bump on the back, which we received in the past. We have a microphone, speaker on the bottom, two buttons customizable, although the accent color on this one is on the top where it was on the bottom last year with the Galaxy Watch 3. So you'll notice here that the red accent was on the bottom. So they moved it slightly to the top and made the buttons a little bit bigger. One of the other things that we don't necessarily know right out of the box is these two buttons are actually sensors enabled inside with some of the heart sensing information, as well as that new ECG option, as well as the ability of measuring the body mass. All of those are running off of those two connectors. So these are actually more than just buttons. So as far as the specifications, what we're looking here at a 1.4-inch Super AMOLED display, 450 by 450 with an always-on and Gorilla Glass configuration here. The Exynos W920 dual core at 1.8 gigahertz. We have 1.5 gigabytes of RAM and 16 gigs of internal storage. Wi-Fi with Bluetooth 5.0, AGPS GLONASS, NFC for Google Pay and Samsung Pay. That's one of the main features here. Wear OS is powering this entire thing, but honestly, once you look at it, and if you've used a Samsung watch in the past, you probably wouldn't even notice it. But you definitely do see it here. As you can see, there's the Google Play Store present right there. And of course, they've changed some of the UI elements from what we've seen before with other Tizen watches. Bixby is going to be the assistant here. No access to the Google Assistant, even though we are running Android Wear. And that's because of what Android Wear 3.0 allows OEMs to do. They're able to actually skin Android Wear to run the way they want it on their smartwatches. So for the most part, Samsung took Wear OS and made it into Tizen, although it is still running Wear OS in the background. As I mentioned to you guys, overall, what we're getting here is a 361 milliampere battery. With my testing, I can tell you that it barely runs through the end of the day. Meaning if you, and what I mean by this, essentially a full 24 hours. So if you charge it at the beginning of the day, let's say 6 a.m., and you basically go all the way to the next day at 6 a.m., you're left with about 10%. So if you want to do a full day worth of tracking, but you want to be able to put it on the charger for about an hour or so, that's going to be pretty much the lifespan that you get there. It does have 5 atmosphere, IP68, mil standard 810G, of course, and one of the main things you want to keep in mind, it is intended to basically go with you everywhere. So from swimming, showers, running, exercise, everything you need to do, this can live with you, and it has a lot of good protection. One of the things that benefit us from having this run Wear OS in the background, at least, is the fact that now Samsung no longer is pushing, or at least in the future will no longer be producing watches that are running Tizen, which means for the most part, Android Wear is going to be the going forward operating system that most developers that want to produce content for Android users that are going to need to work with it. Again, on the top we have the notification panel, we have some toggles. You'll notice right there I have voice over LTE with Bluetooth connectivity. Again, this is the LTE model, and it does switch depending on the connectivity. If it has a strong connection to your smartphone and it is connected, it stays on and it connects over Bluetooth, disabling the LTE. It does not have to stay on LTE all the time. One of the other thing obviously is that the App Store now is looking a little bit more, I'm going to say inspired by Apple, but that's pretty much the best way I can explain it. Everything is a bubble. You can basically customize it. And I was very happy that I got a chance now that I can install my Tesla app directly on my Samsung watch. Because previously my Tesla Wear for Tesla does not work for them. Now we have Google Play Music, messages I can install, of course. I have ChargePoint for my Tesla. A lot of things that I truly appreciate having there. Of course, Outlook, messages, all other things that we normally have. We have also the Buds app, so you can connect a pair of Buds directly to them and connect. But the main benefit, of course, is the ability of using Google Play Store on a Samsung watch, which means whenever we go into the customization section on the watch or on the phone, now we actually can download apps straight from the Google Play Store. Now, I do want to talk a little bit before going into the actual app on the phone about some of the differences, or at least the watch that I'm coming from right now. Previous to this, I've been using the TicWatch 3 Pro watch that was released earlier this year. Now, there is an announcement made by Google as well as by Mobvoi that this is going to get Wear 3.0. We don't know exactly how the software is going to work, but the main difference between the two is that this features a dual display functionality. This is one of the more unique features of the TicWatch. It also does support a slightly larger battery at almost 600 milliamp hour, and which roughly runs me about 2.5 days. Now, this one only has 1 gig of RAM with 8 gigs of internal storage, but that again matched with the Wear 4100 from Qualcomm, runs very, very smoothly with Android Wear as we have it currently. Again, updating to Wear 3.0 hopefully will be coming either later this year or early next year. We'll have to see. We do have charging on both. I didn't get a chance to mention here. Wireless charging here, as well as the ability of charging it from Samsung devices. This one is a Pogo Pin charger that you do need to use a proprietary cable. We have 2 buttons, a speaker and a microphone, of course. Very similar tracking as far as health, although we do have some new technologies available here from Samsung on the Watch 4. As I mentioned to you guys at the beginning, this is running Android Wear, so one thing you need to be aware of, you do not actually need to download or use the Wear app directly from Google. This actually runs pretty much entirely in the Samsung Wear application. So you need to download this application. If you are using this on a non-Samsung smartphone, you are going to need to download a few additional things, specifically if you want to start using Samsung Pay or some of the additional features like Samsung Health to track your health information, Samsung Pay to be able to use the Pay services on this, since it actually supports not only Google Pay, but it also supports Samsung Pay via NFC. So we don't have MST support. That's one of the things we lost a few generations ago with smartwatches from Samsung. So just keep aware, MST is not going to be in there. NFC is going to work on both Google or Samsung Pay. And the watch interface is pretty standard. You have the ability of customizing the experience. You see the battery level. We also have the ability of seeing some of the other options connected. So I have a few. You'll see right there. Galaxy Watch 3 is the one that I had from last year. You have the ability of changing watch faces. Pretty standard. You can go in there, customize, and of course change the different complications that are in there. Apps, pretty standard again. You can customize it. Now you have the ability of reordering them. This is the applications that I have currently. You also have the ability of basically app settings. You can go in there, Bixby, phone, Samsung Pay, voice recorder, and weather, in case you want to basically customize those experiences. And of course, app info, pretty standard. You can go in there and find exactly the information about each app that is installed. All of this information is pulling straight from the phone. Quick panel, pretty much standard. It's pre-configured out of the box, and you are able to add additional ones. So very similar to what we normally get with the notification panel. You could just customize it to your heart's content, and it works perfectly fine. Watch settings pretty much takes us into what we used to see in the past. We have notifications, customizing what notification comes to the watch. Sound and vibration, you can customize the ringtone, the vibration, and of course system vibration and all of that. Keeping in mind that the model that I have actually is technically a watch and a phone inside of it. Because it's LTE connected, when I disconnect it from my phone, I'm able to send and receive not only messages, calls, but also be able to actually download and upload things directly from my watch if I'm listening to music or I'm doing any kind of sharing content directly through a messaging application. Now, under the display, we have the ability of turning on the always on display if you want to use that. Raise to wrist to turn on. Of course, touch bezel, show media controls whenever you're listening to music, screen timeout, of course, show last app, and touch sensitivity in case you do need to increase that for any reason. Under advanced features, pretty standard, you can configure the pressing of the button. So double press right now shows me media control. I actually did change that. It used to basically be, go to my most recent app, but you can customize it and you have a whole bunch of different things that you can actually customize in here. One thing I will say though, we don't have a way of changing Bixby's initiation. So meaning I don't have a way of launching the Google Assistant. That's one thing that we've been used to using on Android Wear. One of the biggest things is the ability of accessing the Assistant. And that was present here on the left side. Now we've seen that with many smartwatches, every single manufacturer that's ever used Android Wear, for the most part, that's how we've been able to use it. So that's something to keep in mind. We don't have access to that. And they have said that Bixby is getting a lot better. Unfortunately, it's something that I personally don't use. I don't even use it on my smartphone, even though this is a Samsung device. So just be aware. I'm hoping at some point that they will initiate or at least give us the ability of changing that. So for now, I've changed that so that I can actually, if I press and hold it, it just opens up the power menu for me. Short press, and of course all the other things that you have in there work pretty good. Battery gives you the ability of seeing the battery usage on the device since the last fully charged. Now when we go under the general tab, you can actually change the speech to text. The preferred engine right now out of the box, it is set to speech to text on Samsung. If you prefer to use Google, speech rate, of course, Samsung keyboard, you can customize that, and if you download any additional options in there, you can customize them as well. Quick responses, and of course keyboard list and default options that you can get in there. Manage content is pretty much standard. Again, as we looked at, we can auto sync content into it, add images as well as tracks, and you have to basically select them manually and track them or move them over to the watch. I do have a track that's been transferred over, but if you want to download some music or pictures, this is pretty much where you would do it. The last thing is under mobile plans. This is pretty much what you would do to go in and customize the experience. As you can see here, I am running directly on T-Mobile right now. It is an additional option that is available through T-Mobile, so you can actually add that to your existing line. I think they charge about $10 to $15 a month, depending on the plan. Under accessibility, we have hearing enhancement, advanced settings, of course, to be able to turn on vibration on the watch, and two-finger or triple tap options if you want to turn those. Last but not least, we have, of course, accounts and backup. It does transfer over your Google account, so whatever main account that you have on your phone will transfer over to the watch, so everything stays the same. Check in for software updates. Again, pretty much the same experience that we've seen it on the regular. In the About section here, it gives us basically the phone number if you have one on the LTE connection, the model number, the serial number. This is also where you're going to be able to get your IMEI, as well as how much RAM and memory you have left. Now, even though it says 1.5 gigs of RAM available, about 1.26 is what's available for us to use. And I've been using basically about 0.92, so it's pretty reasonable. And of course, you could see the other information in there. Under Find My Watch, of course, we can customize the experience there in case we do lose our watch. And this is going to be using the SmartThings Find My Watch. Tips manual, and of course, Store Now no longer takes us into the Galaxy Store. It takes us straight into the Google Play Store with a filter to Google apps, or basically Android Wear applications that are compatible with Wear 3.0. A very nice, refreshing look into what we're being able to do. You can download Google Fit, customize all of the things that you want to do, and of course, at the end of the day, when you're done, again, you can customize the entire experience straight from the watch app from Samsung. You do not even have to have Android Wear installed on your phone. Now, as you can see there, I have not only Bluetooth is disconnected, so we have voice over LTE, 4G LTE connected, Wi-Fi connected, as well as signal strength. So you can definitely see some of the different options you have in here, and of course, all the different options you can customize. This is the water lock for if in case you do go into swimming. It actually does emit a sound out of the speaker once you're out of the pool to emit any kind of water that may be sitting in the speaker. And of course, all the other options, you can customize those directly in the settings. Now, I'm pretty sure one of the things that a lot of people want to know is how does this actually perform compared to last year's generation? The complications, or at least the controls that we have on the right side, pretty much stayed the same. When we swipe to the left here, we have notification. That pretty much stayed the same. There's not much really change big there. Swiping down from the top, you can see almost everything looks exactly the same. There's really very little that allows you to really know that this device is not running Tizen. The only thing we start noticing here, if I swipe out from the bottom, I get the app drawer. Here on the older version of Tizen, this does not exist. So the ability of accessing the app drawer, you actually have to press the button to be able to access it. So let's go ahead and open it up here. And our app drawer is more of a circular option. The apps now look pretty much the same, but that's not something that changed a lot. But you did need to press the button for them to actually open up. You didn't have that before. The crown itself still works the same. And here, same way, we actually are able to scroll through the UI element and of course hit the home button on both of those to take us back. One thing I will probably say is battery life is about the same. I didn't really get a lot more. And if you are on LTE, expect it to dive even further. This is not going to last you more than maybe 4 to 5 hours or so on LTE, especially if you're using it connected all the time. The band support that we're getting here is pretty much a single band, and I'm not sure why this is slightly different. You can see the design is very different than what we had last year. I feel like we had more choices and better selection of bands this way and easier to actually take out, where this one it's a little bit more internally, I guess, better. And you can see right there when I'm holding it, the band don't actually go all the way down. You're able to push them, but they don't actually bend all the way. Where with this watch, the band kind of go down, you can hold it straight and it looks really nice. I feel like this is still something that they need to work on to give us a better implementation. Although, again, still replaceable, you can remove it and put in a new one for yourself. So the next thing I want to talk about is, should you get a watch or should you get this watch with or without LTE? It's really going to come down to what you want to do with the watch. This watch out of the box has a lot of the functionalities that we've seen, all the new measurements, the techniques, and all the things that we added in there. Let's go ahead and put it on. And what I mean by this is if I swipe down from the bottom here, and let's say I do want to do a measurement here, so rest my finger, I can actually set my hand, put my finger straight on this, and it actually will start using my my system here. So it's using my finger to measure my heart rate, and you can see right there the BPM, and overall there's a lot of new things built into this watch, and you don't need to get the LTE model for that. The one thing I will say though is if you like to go outside and you like to go running, and you want to still be connected, meaning you can listen to your Spotify library, you want to listen to your Google Play Music library, or even use Google Maps on your watch. This is going to work perfectly fine, and the watch itself has enough battery to last you throughout, as long as it's fully charged, throughout an entire exercise routine without having any problems, and leaving you with about 50% worth of battery at the end. LTE does drain the battery a little bit more, but it's something that is actually very appreciative there. And you can see there the ECG does not show signs of atrial fibrillation. There's a lot of new things added in there. Then of course there's that new body mass option that they added in there. So let's go ahead and switch over to that. And this one actually utilizes 2 fingers. So we're using both sensors here. We put our hands or fingers in there, make sure that we're sitting in a good quiet place. And it does actually send a very small electrical current through our hand, through the rest of our body to be able to measure basically how our body is doing. And it takes about a second or maybe almost a minute or so. It's very nice. So question again, should you get the one with or without LTE? It truly is going to come down to your preferences. If you need connectivity outside of the house, LTE is definitely the way to go. Unfortunately, the battery size doesn't change. So with or without LTE, you're still getting 361 milliampere. So the only thing I would probably say is LTE will drain the battery a little bit more for you, although you're definitely going to be able to get the best of this watch with LTE. Now, one thing to keep in mind is that Samsung so far has not mentioned anything about upgrading older generation smartwatches, meaning the existing lineup of smartwatches, to run Android Wear 3.0. There's some requirements from Google as well as Samsung to be able to run this operating system, and of course the latest and greatest SoC does actually play a factor here. So for the most part, if you're running, let's say something like this, this is the Watch 3 from last year, you're pretty much going to be receiving Tizen updates. So Samsung's not necessarily stopping support for Tizen, they're just basically moving towards this, and this is going to take a few generations of smartwatches and people upgrading to them before we have everybody running on Android Wear 3.0. Now, keep in mind that this is the first released watch on the market that's running this operating system, and we saw it already that this is super skinnable, meaning you're able to basically run so much customization, which is typical to what Samsung does, on top of it that it doesn't even look like it's running Android Wear. You don't even have to use the Android Wear app on the phone. I'm not saying this is a problem or this is not an issue. I just want you to be comfortable so that if you've used an Android Wear in the past and you're happy that Samsung's finally using Wear 3.0, just understand that the approach to this is slightly different. This is very much like a Samsung smartphone running on a smartwatch. It's basically one UI running on basically Tizen running over Android Wear. So for the most part, I feel like this is something that's very nice, especially for Samsung users, because you're still using a very familiar ecosystem. You're not going to come in here and say suddenly like, oh my God, this is very different. No, almost everything else is still in the same spot with the exception of the app drawer. Notifications still on the left, you're still able to dismiss them, you're able to use them. Bixby is still there if you use it. That's about maybe one of the things I wished would have been there, the ability of giving us the option of using the assistant, because at this point, again, because it's Tizen on Wear 3, we no longer get the Android experience entirely. We're still pretty much into the Bixby Samsung experience. Keep in mind that Samsung has a very robust ecosystem for automation with SmartThings. So I'm not saying this is something bad. I'm just saying if you're used to using the assistant, this is just not going to be there and you're going to have to rely on Bixby, especially for voice commands on here. Your smartphone, of course, still has the assistant. You can initiate things through it. but it is one feature that I felt like should have stayed on. Give us the option of using one or the other, at least on the watch, because on the phone, you have to, because that's how it is. But overall, very happy with the Watch 3, the Watch 4, and I love the upgrades that we saw from last year. And as far as the price, this is something that you're going to need to be comfortable with. Depending on where you're picking it up, you're probably going to be able to get some really good deals. So make sure to be on the lookout for that. Overall, for me, I'm very happy with the updates that we see here, and it's very promising now since I can actually install all of my favorite Android Wear apps now on my Samsung watches, which is something in the past, whenever I was using a Samsung watch, was a no-go. And it comes down to the fact that now I can actually run my favorite Android Wear apps like Facer and even Wear for Tesla directly on my Samsung watches, which is something that we couldn't do in the past. Tizen was something that I feel like Samsung tried for the longest time, and I'm happy to see that they're shifting over and unifying over Android Wear. This will bring better development, more app support, and better app support for the Android side, as opposed to what we've seen in the past. Much better support for the Apple ecosystem, and of course Android Wear and Tizen kind of struggling because they're competing with each other. Now it's pretty much just Android Wear versus iOS. It's going to take some time, but definitely a move in the right direction. Let me know what you guys think of the brand new Samsung watch. This is the Watch 4 Classic, again with LTE. I do recommend getting the LTE if you want to be mobile and be connected. I'll see you in the next video. Thank you very much for the support, and take care.